Right, thanks everybody for coming. For those who don't know me, I'm Scott Walker, the hockey director for ECF. Just gonna do a quick preamble before passing off the torch to our moderator and our group on the panel. First off, thanks everybody for coming. There was a couple of these that have been done in the past, and it's been a few years, so we really wanted to get the opportunity or provide the opportunity for kids and parents to talk to people who have gone through the process, people who are involved in the process, to understand the process of how do I get to where I want to be, if I want to be college, if I want to play junior, whatever that case may be. It's very confusing. I don't think a lot of people do enough to make it clear to people going through that. So that's why we're having this on the board right now. It's just something that we drew up so you can see, cradle to grave, 6U up to college level, the different options that there are for playing, because there's AAA and tier 1 and AA and tier 2, and there's a lot of things that are, again, confusing. So we just wanted to draw things up and people can see their way all the way through the process. Anything that's underlined green is a national bound team. For this group, the little red star doesn't mean much, but that's where the girls' teams are. Going for the tier 1 groups, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, 19 U's for the girls, it's not on the youth side. But the tier 1 teams are run at a statewide level by ASHA. So that's nothing that's happening locally, but on the local side, we take care of all those other things, tier 2, tier 3, and tier 4. Without further ado, we go like this, because we have one more. Add our last panelist, and I'm going to introduce or let Ben Rock take over as the moderator for this discussion.
Hello, can you guys hear me okay? Yeah. So my name is Ben. I actually grew up here in Fairbanks and played hockey, minor hockey here in Fairbanks, played with West Valley, went on to play in the USHL, and then played with Wayne at the university. And then I had an opportunity over the years to coach. I think Wayne and I both coached these guys at different times. So it's a privilege to be here above the sport. I just want to take a minute and have each of you guys just kind of give a little bit of background and tell us a little bit about yourselves.
We'll start with me.
Yeah.
I'm Calvin Boots. I moved to Alaska when I was 7. Played on local youth teams around town, both tier 2. I wasn't always a tier 1 kid. And then I got to my 16, after my first 16 year, I ended up making the decision to leave. And that was like a big discussion with my family and coaches and everything on making that decision, and decided to leave. Went to Colorado for 3 years and then played AAA there. Went to Flin Flon, Manitoba. It's in the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League for 2 years to play juniors. And I was lucky enough to get a divisional offer. Went to Massachusetts for AIC, American International College, and then after my freshman year there, I ended up transferring to Rochester Institute of Technology, where I'm at right now.
My name is Ty Profit. I grew up here in town, played youth hockey for both the Grizzlies and Arctic Lions growing up. Played for coach here at West Valley for my freshman and sophomore year. And then at 16, I left home and played in the NAPHL in Simi Valley, California. And then the year after that, I played in the Tier 1 Elite League for the Iowa Wild. After I finished my last year of 18s, I came back and was fortunate enough to make the Ice Dogs here in town. Played here for half a season, and then I went down and played in the NA3 for 11 games. The following season, I made the Ice Dogs again, played the full season here in Fairbanks, and then got a college scholarship to go play college hockey at the Division III level at the University of Wisconsin-Superior. And I have 2 years left there, thankfully, because COVID gave us an extra year. So I'll get to play hockey for a little bit longer.
All right, my name's Wayne Sonchek. Like Ben said, I played college hockey with them up here. I don't think I've been in this building in 29 years. I don't think they had stuff like this back then. A lot of pen and paper there. I've been a educator in Fairbanks for the last 27 years, and actually just retired. Last Friday was my last day. So wrapping some things up as athletic director there. Just kind of my roles. I've coached a lot of these guys here, coached basically from every level, from mites up through up through 18U hockey, and currently I serve on the board of directors for USA Hockey in the Pacific District, to the Pacific District. And one of my roles is I run I'm a co-director of the Western Regional High Performance Camp in Colorado Springs for all the 14-year-olds.
I'm gonna just add one fun fact. Not too many people know, but Wayne actually played on a team in Canada in juniors, and I think it's amazing. The team he played on was Thunder Bay, and Thunder Bay plays in 2 tournaments. They play in the Canadian tournament and they play in the American tournament. So the USHL, and then what's the Canadian tournament?
Centennial Cup.
Centennial Cup. So it's kind of a big deal, but their team is one of the only teams I think that actually won both tournaments in a season. So I always think that's quite an accomplishment. I just want to comment on that. Josh?
Can you guys hear me all right?
Yes.
Hello?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. Josh Petrich. I am currently the director of consulting for Hawkeye Hockey Services based out of Minnesota. I grew up here in Minnesota, played goalie up until I was 18 years old. And then an injury ended my career and I went into coaching at 18. I coached youth teams for a couple of years, coached high school in Minnesota for a couple of years until I got my first job in junior, which was in Alaska. I coached the Alaska Avalanche out of Palmer in 2011, 2012. Bounced around her a little bit, coached the Minnesota Wilderness in the NAHL, and then got a head job as the head coach of the Kenai River Brown Bears for 2 years. And so I have some ties to Alaska. My son was born up there. And then just 14 months ago, I made the decision to go into consulting and have a little more family time, but stay involved in the process and basically helping young hockey players advance through their career and parents, through the process.
Thank you. So the last group was a little bit bigger. I don't know if you feel like we can answer questions kind of throughout the.
You're the moderator.
Okay.
Do that however you want.
So I've got a series of 5 questions that we're going to ask the guys to share thoughts on. And then I think after each question, as we're talking about a topic, if you have anything that you want to ask questions about or talk about, either as a player or a parent, feel free to do that. So the first question really relates to, I guess, the love of the game. When you start, you could be 4, 5, 6. Tell me kind of at what age did you decide that you wanted to be a college hockey player, and how did life change after that?
So where I started playing hockey was in Salmon, Idaho. The rink there is still an outdoor rink with chain link fence. I started playing hockey, watching my brother's practices, and they had like a little pond flooded up top, and that's where I learned how to skate. I think I was just learning how to walk when I first put on skates. At that point, I knew I loved hockey, but when I moved here, we got to have the privilege to watch UAF and the Ice Dogs. And that's really when I decided I wanted to play college hockey. And I made it a goal of mine to have Division I be. Cool.
Yeah, for me, being born into a hockey family, my dad played here in Fairbanks for the Golden Kings, and then starting the Ice Dogs. It was just in my blood from the time I was born. It's all I've ever known. It's all I've ever wanted to do. But I think at about 12 years old, my goal was to play junior hockey. It wasn't college hockey at that point in time. I didn't see myself at the level nor the maturity level to be able to excel past junior hockey. And so all I wanted to do was play for my hometown team or play junior hockey to show that I could do that to myself. Then when I left home and played my first year outside, I realized that there was an opportunity to both get an education and play the game I love. And to do that would be a pretty big privilege and honor. And so I chased that dream until I made it into a reality. And I'm very excited that I got that opportunity when I was that age to be able to have that mindset, to realize that and to chase that dream and make it a reality.
Being born and raised in Canada, just kind of was the passion growing up there. I don't think I really even thought about college hockey until I was probably playing junior hockey. It was kind of more, Canada was kind of more of a major junior market, the Canadian Hockey League. And when I was playing junior hockey, I think 2 things that clicked in. I wanted to go to college was, one, I was fortunate enough to go on a recruiting trip to the University of Western Michigan. And when they go there, they really treat you well. They And then I worked this summer in a paper mill, and it was just the worst job ever, and I thought, I really want to go to college, so I didn't want to be on the wrong end of a picker room, so that was kind of the motivating factors there.
Josh, do you want to add anything to that or thoughts?
No, I mean, I would say about 15 years old is when I decided it. And I mean, I would tell you I was on the reverse side of it, having to make a tough decision at 18 to try to bear it out and have surgery or just move on with my career. But I always knew I just wanted to be involved in hockey. Hockey is just such a great game and such a small family kind of knit environment. And so I just found a different avenue, I guess, is what I would say.
Can you guys talk about other sports that you played when you were growing up?
Yeah, when I moved to Fairbanks, there's not much hockey hockey in the summer. You can go and skate and stuff, but there's no really organized teams. So I played baseball, football, soccer, pretty much any other sport that you can think of. But yeah, I guess we had a travel team we played for Northern Attack, but that was only for a couple weeks out of the summer.
Yeah, for me, I played baseball, golf a lot, but I spent a lot of my time on the river fishing, in the woods, doing that stuff. Same with him. I think that the biggest sport that I really fell in love with was golf. Not very good at it, but I enjoy playing it, so I did that for most of my childhood.
Wayne, would you, as a coach, have any comments about picking a sport like hockey and just staying true to it, or doing multiple activities, multiple kinds of sports as a coach?
Well, I think it's great to do multiple sports. I think when I was listening to some of the girls out there kind of putting the gear away for the summer and getting involved in other things there, I think that's the way to go. I just think that playing other sports and doing other activities, kind of, you learn things, whether it's fly fishing, learning the patience fishing, or, whether it's playing golf. There's another game I've seen Ty play golf, and it's not pretty at times. But no, I think it's great. I think we just kind of, I think training our body. I had a student at West Valley probably about 5 or 6 years ago, and he was a figure skater and a football player, kind of two different things. And he goes, I never got hurt playing football until I stopped skating. It kind of made me think, because he was training his muscles different ways, right? Like we get hockey, a lot of sports we just go, it's this way, this way, this way, this way. And when we play other sports, it's training our muscles and other things. So one, helping our athleticism, and two, kind of with injury prevention too, because we're training in a different way.
Josh, do you have anything you would like to add to that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think being the best athlete you can possibly be. And so in doing so, you got to, like Coach Sawchuk said, you have to be adaptive. You have to be able to play other sports. And even if it's just pick up basketball or a pick up soccer game or something like that, do what you love and enjoy it. But I think, and we'll touch on it later. Like, I think you have to get out of the fear of missing out a little bit, and you have to just put your hockey skates away and take some time away from the sport, or else your body just doesn't recover properly. And the farther you get into it, the worse that gets, and it just can be a little tougher. And I think both players would talk about, now that they're into their college career, they probably look forward to their summer a little bit. So.
Yeah, and I have one more thing to say about that. Like, in regards to playing a sport in the summertime or whenever it is, I think that you have to look at sports as a tool to use in life in general. Individual sports such as golf, tennis, those type of things where you spend time on your own and the only person you have to blame is yourself, I think are huge sports for when they get brought into the team atmosphere. Because now you can learn from your mistakes in those type of sports. Whereas in hockey, there's a lot of people that point fingers and blame, and you have the ability to do so because you have 20 other guys on your bench with you, right? You have 5 other guys on the ice with you. It could be someone else's problem every time, right? But if you play a sport like golf, like tennis, an individual sport, you learn the ability to only blame yourself and handle that adversity through those types of times. And then you can take that into the game of hockey and be able to better yourself as a teammate as well.
Thank you. The next question is kind of, it's been a question since I was playing, when I was playing in the 80s. And as you are developing through different levels, 16, 18, juniors, what's your opinions or what's your thoughts about the pros and cons of whether you can get trained in Alaska at this point, and have an opportunity that's equally as good as what's available outside. Can you share some thoughts?
You want me to go first? So I think this is on an individual basis, on what you as an individual feel is best for you at that time. For me, I left home at 16, not for hockey, but for life reasons. I had to mature as an adult, even though that sounds weird at a 16-year-old age, right? Like you're still a kid. I knew that in order for me to be successful in life, I had to gain knowledge and experience. And I thought that at the time, the best decision for me was to go live on my own with a billet family, and build myself as a person, as a human being. And I think you have to take that into account when you're talking about moving out of the state, with keeping hockey to the side. Now, with regards to hockey, the ability to train within the state, there's so many opportunities. With the amount of players that come back here after they're done playing and want to get back to the community that they love and the game that they love. And I feel like we don't take advantage of it as a whole state. I feel like there's times and opportunities where players such as myself and Calvin and the many others that have played here could provide more, but we don't get reached out to by certain people or by the large majority. Maybe it's because of whatever it may be. They want to go outside to experience those other things. They hear and see things on social media or whatnot. But I think that if we had the contacts with people to start developing a system within the state to have guys like us come back and teach you guys that there is an opportunity for you to play here, get exposure, and then leave, I think it'll be a better place to play hockey growing up in general.
Well, I'll ask, I'm gonna pull, I'm gonna use a poll here, I'm gonna use a poll here, so, what do you think, we'll ask the kids here, what is like development, when you think of hockey development, what do you think, like, what do you think, I'd have to develop, what does that mean to you?
To refine,
Pardon?
refine
Refine what though?
speed, like precision, everything.
Okay, speed, precision, refine, okay, what else?
Consistency,
Pardon?
consistency,
Consistency, okay,
Better competition.
better competition. What else, anything else? Okay, just curious here, because I'm seeing some eyes come down, or they don't want me to make eye contact with them there, so. No, I'm just kind of curious with you guys, like, what everybody thinks of what development is, because development is through different eyes, right? Like, what am I going to do? Is it like, Ty mentioned a good thing there, you know, do I need to go get exposure, right? Like, is that the big thing, is exposure development? And somebody's gonna be careful with exposure, because you might get exposed. And true story, right? Like, so that's what you gotta be careful with there. So that's, I'm just kind of curious what the different ranges of development here and what you guys think that you need. And I think what Ben was going to is that, can that be provided here? Can that be provided in Fairbanks, Alaska, or Alaska?
Hey, Josh, do you have any comments or thoughts that you'd share with us?
Yeah, I mean, I think I would echo what both people said. I think it's an individual basis decision. I tell families all the time when they're deciding to potentially leave where they live, be it Alaska, be it anywhere, take hockey out of the equation. Ask yourself, can you live in a random person's house? Can you go to a random school? And can you be happy at the end of the day? Because if you can't say yes to that, hockey's not going to make it better. Actually, hockey's going to probably make it more stressful, and it's going to lead it down to a tougher path and a worse experience. You know, I witnessed kids have success staying in Alaska. And if your goal is to play junior hockey, you have 3, great programs right in Alaska to play for. And those guys are always looking for Alaska homegrown talent to play for them. So it goes down to what are your goals and what are your motives to leave the state. And if they align and they make sense to you, then by all means, it's your, as a player, it's your career. And as a family, it's your decision. But, I think studies have shown that the longer the kid can stay under his parents' tutelage and being raised by his two own parents or his own parent, the better off experience they're going to have and the more prepared they're going to be successful in life.
The Josh's point, right? You only get one chance to raise a kid.
Yeah. Calvin, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, as far as developing, I think you can do it anywhere. It's yeah, you're obviously gonna get what you put in out of hockey, and for me, making my decision late, it was purely a individual decision, just based on the amount of games we were playing and just other things amongst that. I honestly think I could have developed to the hockey player I am today if I were to have stayed here. But that's in the past.
Switching gears a little bit, so the concept of recruiting, and Josh, maybe I'll start this with you, has changed a lot. I mean, the advancement of email and videotapes and technology and all the social stuff that happens. What kind of comments or thoughts do you have that would be relevant to the kids today in terms of information they should know, things that you could share?
Yeah, I mean, I think the simplest way to think about it is this is going to be your first individual business that you own. And your hockey career is that your parents are your silent investors most of the time. Sometimes they're spoken, but this is your business. And so, you know, if you were running a business, are you just going to operate it by the seat of your pants and just wait to see who comes through the door? Or are you going to market yourself? Or are you going to get out there and be your best advocate? So for like us and our company, we teach our kids to be the best advocate for themselves. If you want to play for somebody, email and tell them, call and tell them. Everybody's information is all over the internet. And recruiting is twofold. Recruiting is 50% the organization determining, is this kid the right fit for us? But the other 50% is you determining, is this organization the right fit for your development? And so if you can knock half of that out by saying, you know, hey, coach, I've been looking into your organization. You do a really good job of developing players and advancing players. I'd really like to learn more about how you guys operate and how I can be a part of that. And then I would say, you know, on the camp side of things, I would go before you're ready to try to play. There's nothing worse than a kid showing up at camp and this is his only kick at the can and it doesn't work out, and being the coach that has to tell him that. When people go buy a car, they don't just walk on the lot and say, I want that one. They go test drive a couple. So your 16-year-old year, your 17-year-old year, go to a couple camps, feel them out, learn how they are. There's a way to attack a camp. I think both players would attest to like a main camp and how you have to attack it and how you have to be consistent and how you have to show up every game, or you could get a red line through you. So I think there's just, there's a ton of tools and a ton of things at your disposal. And if you're not utilizing them, someone else is, and someone else is probably getting that opportunity. And the unfortunate truth of it is after youth hockey, there's only a finite amount of spots available. And so you have to showcase why you're a better option than the other 1,000 players that are trying to earn that opportunity.
Do you guys want to add anything, thoughts as to what you might have done or wish you wouldn't have done in terms of reaching out to coaches or marketing, or did you feel like you got the exposure that you needed to have opportunities?
So when it came to me, came to my hockey career in terms of deciding if I was going to go to college or not, it came down to the summer before I needed to be going to college. I wasn't committed to a school throughout my whole overage year. I was reaching out to schools. I had exposure. I had teams emailing me, talking to me, but it's all in how you present yourself and how you can reach out. Being the team that I played on was like way northern Manitoba, where nobody's going to come watch you play unless they've seen what they want to see from you. And I guess you just have to be your own advertiser. Like everybody's watching what you do. You can send video. You can do a lot of stuff just through today's internet.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing, like I talk about it all the time, is like not necessarily in the game of hockey, but in life in general. Like, it's the things that you do when you don't think anybody's watching, right? With that being said, every single time you step on the ice, there could be an opportunity for someone to be watching you. So if you step on the ice and you take it half-assed and you're not giving it your all every single time you're on the ice, you could miss an opportunity for someone that's in the stands that might just look like a regular person, but is actually a scout for Flin Flon in the junior league, or whether it be UAF, right? So I think that you have to take every opportunity that you are given with regards to being on the ice as an opportunity to show yourself. Then when you go to a camp situation or setting, play within yourself. Don't try to be a player that you're not, because coaches are not looking for players that are trying to do things that they're not capable of doing. If you have a role and you know what type of player you are, and you go and show that you can be the best at that specific thing, they're going to need a specific thing like that on a team, right? A team is not built up of 30 Connor McDavids. A team is built up of guys like McDavid, a guy like Cassian, right? Like there's different types of tools in that tool bag. Each team needs a tool, right? So you got to go onto the ice knowing what you are capable of doing and showcasing that at your best of your ability.
Well, I think and Josh can attest to this, like the hockey world is very, very small. Somebody knows somebody who knows you, or somebody knows somebody who's seen you play. So it is very tight, and I think it's this great big global, but it's amazing how many connections, whoever it is, like that, we could say, well, who saw so-and-so play there? Or somebody seen Ty play when he was down with the SoCal Titans, right? Like there's something there that within probably a phone call or two, there's some common connection that somebody has seen him play.
Absolutely.
If I could ask a
Please,
question.
of course.
So you mentioned camps multiple times. Camps are a dime a dozen. You know, how do you know which camps are going to be valuable and which ones are just fun?
I think Josh is maybe talking more of the tryout camp when he's going, I think camps are two things, right? We have our hockey school camps, right? And then we have our camps where we're going to somebody to try out there. I think Josh, going forward, you're talking more of the tryout situation, the camps.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
And to his point, if you go just to one camp and you haven't prepared yourself, chances are you're not going to have any understanding of what to expect. You can hear it, but until you've been to a camp, and the girls did a pretty good job of talking about the competition that exists. You always have a place to play until you start to go into these higher levels, and then it's competing. It's battles. It's the same thing. It's bumper butts, but on steroids. It's something that we're being taught and teaching the whole time. But to the concept of camps,
I guess we asking though, you're talking about like tryout camps or skill development camps, or just,
It's not always, at least for me, it's not always easy to tell the difference.
right?
You know,
There's
which,
so many grabs.
there should be development at any type of camp, right? But it's hard to tell which ones are money grabs.
For me,
Well,
like,
if I can interject on that, like that the term money grab gets thrown around. Like junior hockey is a business. Okay, so when you leave youth hockey, you enter the business world. A coach keeps his job and feeds his family by having success, and so it's an opportunity for you to show up and present why you belong there. And I think too many kids take cop outs in that, wow, they just didn't need me. Well, no, you just didn't showcase yourself. Coaches aren't turning away players that are going to help them win games. And so you have to make the decision on what is a right camp for you. Inspect what you expect. If you get an invite to a camp, email the coach back and say, hey coach, really appreciate it. Where'd you see me play? And I have a couple questions. How many forwards are you looking for? What type of forward are you looking for? How do you think I fit into your guys' team style? Stuff like that. I think it's really, the onus is on the player to make sure that they're setting themselves up to be in a position to succeed. I will tell you, I've tryout camps. I've ran, a decade's worth of tryout camps, and I can probably count each day on one hand the kids that prepare for a tryout camp like they do a regular season game. Like, don't show up to a tryout camp and just walk into the locker room 30 minutes before the game and think you're going to go perform. Get there the same time you would a regular season game. Go through your dynamic workout, go through your meditation, go through your stuff, and treat it like your career's on the line. And so, I'm sympathetic to the money grab stuff, but at the same time, I worked for a guy in Kenai, and he started the beginning of the season meeting and asked who here is trying to earn a scholarship. And everybody raised their hand, obviously, and he looked at him and goes, good, you just got your first one. You know, I mean, you look at a North American League budget, especially in Alaska, like the average team in Alaska on an NA team spends about $20,000 per kid. And so it's imperative to you that there just has to be an understanding across the board. You're paying for an opportunity, but that opportunity is on what you do with it.
And Josh, to clarify, I was going through with difference between a hockey school camp and a tryout camp, which is, that, and I just didn't know where you're coming from on that one there, because probably we probably get tons of letters and emails and trying to decipher through them.
Absolutely. I was talking mainly a tryout camp. The hockey schools, research where they've been, research who they are, and, call people that have done them before.
You've been a coach for a long time, been around the game since you were playing in Fairbanks. What do you think about the camps that are offered in Alaska for development in the summers here in Fairbanks and across the state?
That's Ty Profit camp. I just think there's so many opportunities. I know we've had some camps come in. I never go watch them, so I don't know. Like, what's the one that comes in? Is it Planet? I want to say Planet Hockey. Yeah, so I don't know what it is. I don't really go watch them there. I think there's enough resources in there. It's just, hiring a coach to come work on specific skills. I think that's kind of the, we got a weight room, facility there. We got goalie coaches there. So I think that's kind of maybe get more training specific to your needs.
Any other clues you got?
Yeah, I think me and him, we did the hockey schools in Fairbanks as kids, right? There's a difference between going to a hockey school and spending your whole day there, and 30% to 60% of that day is you're in a coloring book or doing something that's not hockey. And then there's the opposite end of that spectrum is when you're on the ice for an hour and all you do is touch pucks and learn how to skate. Now, you can get benefits out of both of them, right? You can learn how to work with others well and how to be a good person and whatnot with that other hockey school. Or you can go to a hockey school that's a hockey school. And every single day you're on the ice, you're getting something out of it. My thing is you have a tool bag. Every day in life, you have an opportunity to add a tool to that tool bag. When you walk on that ice or step your foot on that ice, you're gonna have an opportunity to gain a tool. Now, do you want to gain 30 tools and forget 29 of them? Or do you want to gain 4 and remember all 4? Right, so you have to look at what type of hockey school you're going to in regards to that. On the camp side of things for tryouts, you should be developed. When you go to a tryout, you have, especially at the junior hockey level, you should know what type of player you are, and you should perform to that type of player. Now, within that season, you can grow as a player, you can mature as a player, you can develop into a better player or something different, and then you go to the next level of college, right? But you have to know what type of player you are before going into those tryout camp settings, in my opinion.
Can you share thoughts, like most of the kids that are here, right, young men are like, they're not ready for juniors, they're not ready for college. Talk about what it's like to go from 14U to 16U, from 16U to 18U. What kind of things do you remember were important at that point, going from one level to the next? Really just, your goal is to make it to the next level. If you want to play hockey, what's the next level when you're 14? Well, you're going to go to 16 and so on.
I guess here in Fairbanks, going from the 14 to 16 year level, 14 we didn't play with the 97 birth year, which is the birth year above us. So we were just with our own birth year throughout the 2 years. And then when we went to the 16U team, our first year was with the 97s. And that was a completely different world because they're older, they're more mature, they're bigger, they're stronger than all of us. And that was just kind of like a shell shock of like just being, you have to be ready to be able to play with bigger people. The speed increases of the game. The speed never stops increasing. Like Division I college hockey is the fastest thing I've ever seen because you're on the ice trying to play it. It's kind of crazy.
What would you guys do different though as at these guys' age? Like I'd say yourself 13, 14, 15 years old, like as far as like the training and that, think of summertime stuff. What would you, as far as with your hockey stuff? I know you like to fish and golf, but what would you like advice to these guys there?
Understand that there's other people out there in this world, because hockey is now drawing from around the world, not just in the US and Canada. But there's people out there in this world that are doing more than you every hour of every day, of every week, of every month, of every year. There's somebody who is willing to do something that you are not willing to do. Whether that be wake up in the morning and get a run in. Doesn't mean that you have to focus on hockey, go shoot pucks or anything like that, but just something that gets you better every day. There's people out there that are willing to do whatever it takes so that they can play the game. And I wish I would have understood that. I took it for granted. I took every day that I got to play the game until I was 16 years old for granted, because I thought that I was set. I wish I would have hit the gym 10 times as hard as I did. I wish I would have focused on my schooling 10 times as hard as I did. I wish I would have matured as a person 10 times as hard as I did, because somebody else out there was doing exactly that. They were working 10 times as hard as I was every single day.
It's basically the same thing I have is, once I got to the level I'm at, my first year in college, I came to the locker room and there's Swedish, Latvian kids, Czech kids. That are all jacked. They're 24 years old because they were all overagers and juniors and just men. And it opened my eyes to how little I was prepared and made me regret a lot of my childhood. Like, I'm not saying to focus on hockey all year round, because that you'll just get drained and hate hockey. But every day you should do something that will benefit your hockey career, whether it be go for a run or play a different sport. Playing a different sport will help you in hockey. I know it helped me. But just taking a step every day throughout my youth would help me.
This is kind of more for the coaches in terms of, when you think about other things besides hockey, what are the coaches looking for? Like, you're a scout, you're a person watching these kids, what are the things that you're noticing? What should they be knowing that you're noticing? Beyond hockey, outside of maybe in academics, things like that.
Well, I don't think I told the kids I coach, I'm not gonna lie about your character, because that's usually the first thing they ask. And I had one guy call me a junior coach and he goes, well, how is this kid? I said, well, I let him marry my daughter, and he goes, that's all I need to hear. And then he said, good enough for me. So I think, we hear it, I think character is kind of that buzzword, but it's kind of what kind of kids that gonna be, what are they? And then after that, it'll go into the different little, the skill sets after that.
Josh, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I mean, when I recruited a player, quite honestly, the hockey ability, that's just a quick eye test. Like, once you get trained in it, you can basically say this guy can play or this guy can't play within about 3 or 4 shifts, skill wise and ability on the ice. Then it gets down to the details. How you do anything's how you do everything. How does he change? When an adverse situation happens, how does he react? Does he blame his teammates? Does he slam his stick? Does he throw his head back? How does he carry himself into the rink? Is he got a cutoff sleeve shirt on when he's walking into a big event with a hat on backwards? Or is he presenting himself like he wants to earn a job? And then how do you interact on the phone? Like, too many kids these days, all they can do is text and Snapchat and stuff like that. Like, when I call you and I want to talk about you about offering a spot and how you could be an integral member of your organization, like, I don't want to feel like I'm talking to the wall. Have thoughtful, educated conversations, be able to speak on the phone, articulate what your goals are. And then at the same time, it goes to the family. Is dad the guy in the crowd that's just screaming at the refs and trying to beat him up in the parking lot? Or is the family a good, hearty family? I mean, a lot of times when I was recruiting, like, first thing I'd ask the coach is, like, same thing that Coach Satuk said, like, how is his character? Is he the hardest worker? And then B, like, do mom and dad cause problems? You know, do mom and dad question everything? Because like if they question everything, that's ingrained into the kid, and you know, that's gonna be a tough learning curve when you get to junior hockey. You know, what most of the guys, I want to go back to the off-season question. Like most of the guys, kids in the room are 13 to 16 years old, correct?
Yep.
So we have a rule of thumb in our company, and I would say probably at 15 is when this would start. But we like in an ideal situation, we want 4 off ice hours of activity to every on ice hour of activity in the summer. So be it juggling, being it, you know, playing basketball, something, working out in the gym, you know, sprints, long distance runs, whatever it is. Like we like a 4-to-1 ratio with our guys, because in the summer you need, you know, you look at it, that's basically, if you get in 3 hours ice a week, you're in the gym and you're doing stuff 12 hours a week to better yourself. And it's just a good ratio. So like Calvin talked about, you're not burning yourself out and you're not hating going to the rink in January. I think too many kids can't decipher between what is a practice in January and what is a practice in August. And so in being able to decipher that and being able to pyramid or, you know, work your way up so that you can peak at the right moment is a big part of your development. You know, if all you are is a plateau player, it's really tough to get better. Or if you're a peaks and valley player, like that's even worse, you know. So being able to have a steady uphill climb throughout the season so that at the end you peak at the most important part, like that's the desire of development.
You want to add something? You're looking at me like.
Yeah, I think for me, I've had the opportunity to be around a lot of tryout camps. As both before I was trying out, during and now after, with the Ice Dogs and as well as other teams. I think you have to carry yourself the way you want to be looked at, right? When you walk into a rink, if you come into a rink with the mindset of, I'm going to be somebody that they notice, then you'll get noticed. And there's 2 different ways to be noticed. Noticed badly and noticed good, right? If you carry yourself with a manner that you are mature, you're well-dressed, you look like a professional, you have the mindset that you're going to be a professional. If you come in and have that typical hockey person look with like what our stereotype is as hockey players, right? Like a lot of people know that stereotype. You're going to get stereotyped into that category. So I think the first thing you do to set yourself up for success is to dress appropriately for how you want to be presented and how you want to present yourself when you walk into a rink.
So going back, Calvin, you kind of hit on it just briefly, like describe how it felt or the difference from going to, you know, Terry, 18 AAA, all of a sudden going into juniors and then into college. Describe that transition and what it felt like.
Like I said, each time you move up in age, there's bigger guys. Going from 18U, I aged out in 18s, so I was the older guy in my last year. And then I was tendered to Topeka, so in the Null, I went to their main camp. But I was playing with a couple of guys that now played at some big D1 schools like University of Minnesota Duluth, stuff like that. And then I ultimately decided not to go there and go to Flin Flon. And if you haven't been in Northern Canada, there's some big farm boys that play hockey. And I came into the first day of camp. And I remember I was carrying the puck up the left side and cut to the middle, and you should never do that. And I got my head taken off, and it was an eye-opening experience.
I have anything to add?
Yeah, I mean, it's scary. Like I'm not gonna beat around the bush. Like coming from here where you've known everybody, you know what everybody's capable of, you're aware of your surroundings, you feel comfortable. And then stepping foot onto a rink where there's guys that their job is to hurt you. That's what's gonna get them to the next level. that's what they believe is gonna get them to the next level. It's a big eye opener. But it's part of the game, right? You have to learn how to play within that. You have to learn how to handle yourself within those different aspects of it, but it's fun. It is really fun to see where you set in that type of situation.
Can you tell me, kind of the normal day of life in hockey for a kid who plays college hockey? What's a season, what's a day? Share the experience through your eyes.
So at my first school, we always lifted in the morning, so it was a 7 a.m. lift. And that, guys always hated that, but now that I'm at a different school and they do it a different way, I love the 7 a.m. lift. So we'd go a 7 a.m. lift and then you'd go to classes until the afternoon. I think it was, our practice there was like 1 o'clock. So we'd get done with classes, into the rink, have skate till 2 or 3 hours and then get off. And then some guys would have night classes. And you'd go after class or whatever, go to the dining hall, and then eat what you could, and then go home and study. It's
Repeat.
Yeah, literally. And at my school I'm at now, we don't have a lift in the morning. It's so skate and lift are all in the afternoon. So we wake up, some guys have 8 a.m.s or whatever, class from 8 till 12:30, I think, and then we're at the rink from 1 till 4 or 5, because we have our skate and then our lift, and then some guys have night classes and then dining hall, study, repeat.
Yeah, he has it a little differently than I do. Division I schools cater to their athletes a little more with how they spend the bigger schools, right? So they have the capability of having classes at different times for different type, more teachers, right? So at my school, there's only 1,700 students in my school and all of them are athletes. We have 19 different sports at my school and every single student basically plays a sport. So it's very hard to schedule that. So for when we show up in August to start the season, we have 6 a.m.s every day. 6 a.m. workout, noon skate, 7 o'clock at night lift again. Every day for 2 weeks leading up until school starts. When school starts in September, we have classes from 7 a.m. until 4 in the afternoon. And then from 4:30 till 7:30 at night, we have practice and then study, homework. And that's how it is until Christmas break. Then at Christmas break, we go to classes because we have a J term. So we try to get as many credits as we can. So we take a J term class and those are online classes, but they're still Zoom. So you have to get on them to actually learn. Not really, but Zoom is very difficult, especially at the college level. And then we play through J term, and then after that, we go into morning practices, because then those classes for second semester go into the afternoon. So we skate at 8 a.m. and then we have classes throughout the rest of the day, depending on what type of major you are and what you're going to school for.
Okay. Can you talk a little bit about, so you practice all week, you've studied, you got some sleep. What happens on the weekend?
So weekends, typical weekend, you're either, if you're at home, it's just Friday, Saturday, and then you get an off day on Sunday, luckily, because of NCAA compliance rules. On the road, this is where being a college athlete is terrible, is you have to pretty much bus everywhere, unless we go, we're in the Atlantic Hockey Conference, so we play Air Force, and that's the only school we will fly to. We're based out of New York, but every other bus ride we go on, it can range from 2 hours to, I think we went to Ohio, so that's like an 8-hour bus ride. But leaving on the bus on Thursday, you're missing all those classes on Thursday, and then you play Friday, Saturday, and then you're on the bus all night to get home on Saturday night. That's the hardest part about it.
Yeah, I play the WIAC in Wisconsin and we play all across Wisconsin. So like shortest bus ride's 45 minutes and longest one is 6 hours-ish, somewhere around there. Pretty fortunate with that in regards to the school thing. Most of our teachers are pretty understanding because of it being an athletic school that they don't really give us homework on those times. Still have tests and stuff like that, but we're able to do everything right online on the bus. Our buses have Wi-Fi and everything like that. Travel to those games, play Friday, Saturday, bus home on Saturday night, or we'll play a home and home where we play a home game on Friday night at our rink, and then bus and play a home game or away game at their rink on Saturday, and then having to do homework in between that with getting up in the morning on Saturday morning earlier than normal to go on that bus ride. So it's pretty fun though. It actually is really fun.
So like, that was gonna be, like, what's it mean to be one of the boys? Like, what is, talk to me about like the experience, would you do it again?
Yeah, if I could start my whole process over again and do it, I would 100% start over. Like, not to change anything, I would do it the exact same way because I would be the person I am today because of my experiences that I've had. But I would go through this process every chance that I could, because it's the funnest time you'll ever have in your life. Like, you'll make friends that in 20 years from now, if you feel down, sad, upset, you give them a call, they will make you smile. That's the best part of this game, is getting to make friendships like we've had since we were 7 years old.
Wayne, you wanna add anything to that?
Well, I think it is, I think when you get the chance to play, whether it's at the college level, the junior level, it's kind of not, you don't really remember those games, and a lot of times just remember the experiences. You remember somebody doing something stupid when they were at the swimming pool, or somebody doing something at Chuck E. Cheese or something like that. Those are the memories, right? I see some grins now, and it's not kind of, oh man, we sucked and the coach skated us. It wasn't that. It was just kind of more of the experience that you gained from that opportunity.
Josh, do you wanna add anything?
No, I mean, I think everybody hit it on the head. I mean, it's the brotherhood that you get to be a part of. And I think the thing that needs to be echoed is 99.9% of the people that play hockey are going to go pro in something other than hockey, but you can still be part of that brotherhood and end up working with one of your buddies from hockey and stuff like that. And you still have those relationships and those friendships and stuff like that. I mean, I make no bones about it. I would say 97% of my friends are in the hockey world, because that's what I do day in and day out. That's where I'm around. That's who I go play golf with. That's who we go to the cabin with. That's just the lifestyle. So, and I would agree, like, I wouldn't change it. I mean, Calvin hit it on the head. It sucks being on a bus through the middle of the night and having to learn how to sleep upright, and stuff like that. But also the dumb times. I mean, I was on a bus trip from Fairbanks to Palmer a decade ago, and we step off the bus and right into knee-deep snow, and the boys started a snowball fight at 3 a.m. and like, that's the stuff that you don't forget. I don't remember how we did at the Dipper, but I remember that. I think we won, but I'm not sure.
So I'm notoriously late on everything, but in terms of just kind of switching gears and kind of opening up to the parents or kids, any questions or things that you'd like to ask? I think just, Paul played, Scotty played up at the university, I played at the university, Wayne played at the university, we coach these kids. I think one of the things, like, if you love this game, when you look in the mirror, you'll know it. And when you go back to what I said, you want to take it with a grain of salt, in the sense of, like, you got to have fun along the way, but really you got to look in the mirror and own what you want and create the goal that you're looking to shoot for, and just drive for it. Just don't stop.
And I think at this age here, you gotta go where you can develop and go where you can play. 'Cause if you're playing, you're gonna have fun. If you're not playing, it's gonna be hard for you to have fun. And I know we got a couple of goalies here too, and that's a whole different. Yeah, you guys are weird, so I just kind of had a roommate. My roommate was goalie for a year, believe me, but that's a whole, there's only one net, right? So, and maybe Josh, even that may be a good thing. Let's cater to the goalies here, right? Like, that's kind of your thoughts on that there, and maybe what's the ideal spot for them to find as they're meandering their way to, through AAA hockey and the junior hockey.
Yeah, I mean, just speak about the goalies. I mean, the pyramid's a lot steeper. The number of opportunities starts to dwindle away the older you get. But I think the key at any position is you gotta touch the puck. You gotta, if you're a goalie, you gotta be in the blue paint. No one develops sitting on the bench. No one develops being the the 13th forward or the 7th D or, you know, the backup goalie for, you know, 90% of the time. So if you got to play a level lower to get that development, like junior hockey was created to play till you're 21 because of the late developing nature of the game of hockey. And so it's a marathon, it's not a sprint. And no one really gives a rat's where you played as a 16-year-old or 18-year-old. It's what is at the top of the mountain and how do I just take the next step to get there? And so if that's, you know what, you're going to stay, you're going to play your high school and you're going to play a AA another year, like that's not the end all be all. Just continue to have your goal in mind and continue to work towards it and don't give up. I think too many people get jaded about, you know, wow, I got cut from this team, so I must not be any good. Well, if you're not ready to give up, you're still in the game and you're still in the fight. I think I honestly think more kids quitting is what gets them out of the fight than, you know, not being good enough. Everyone develops at a different age, and so just go about it your process and don't worry about what's going on with anybody else.
Well, I think a prime example too is although Isaiah Seville, right, goalie from Anchorage just signed with the Golden Knights too, and I think, and Josh, you probably remember too, I think he was drafted in USHL, but decided to go to the North American League so he could get the blue paint. And I think he was.
Yeah, unfortunately, I would have liked to see him in the USHL that year because he beat me 4 times. Couldn't score a goal on him to save our life. But I mean, yeah, Isaiah Seville is a great example of it. Chris Oldham played for Kenai instead of playing in the USHL and then made his way through there. You know, I was just talking, I was just at the Robertson Cup. I didn't go tonight, but I was at the Robertson Cup and I was talking to the Anchorage's head coach. I mean, their team captain, he almost cut him before training camp. Like, you know, he's like, oh, we're going to have too many D coming. And I'm going to tell this kid to not come. And the kid called that night and it's like, coach, I bought my plane ticket. I'm really excited to come to Anchorage. Next thing you know, he's their team captain. And he's going to Mankato State. I mean, if he gets cut, he probably doesn't play Division I hockey. So you just got to take the opportunity as is. And there's just so many better stories than get advertised. I mean, there's just so many stories of guys persevering and facing adversity. And like I said, and Ty's alluded to this too, like, you're going to go pro in something outside of hockey. Like you're going to have to face adverse situation. You're going to have to face shitty bosses. You're going to have to face times that you don't want to do stuff. Like just enjoy it while you have it. You know, there's a day that hockey's going to end and you can't go back and fix the regrets that you had in the past. So just don't have any.
You know, I think there's a lot of late bloomers too. I think of is it Zach Kranick, who's at Mankato now. He was a kid as a 14 youth player, was the last kid picked. He was like 4'11", and I think out of that birther, he's the only kid still playing hockey. So you never know when you're gonna, you know, develop, maybe be the best 18-year-old or 19-year-old, not the best 12-year-old.
Yeah,
I mean, I coached Zach in Kenai. I mean, he came to our main camp his 18-year-old year, and he just wasn't there. And we convinced him to go play in Iowa to get the puck touches and get the development. And in November, we needed a guy to play with 2 other fast guys and we couldn't find him. So we went back to Zach and we're like, hey, how about you come in now? And he went after 4 games. He was on our first line, you know? And so like, it's just, it's ever evolving and, you know, it's about where you want to go, not where you're at. And, you know, if you can keep that focus and you can keep that determination, you're going to be successful. It just might be the road less traveled. And I think the comparing aspect of the game is very toxic. Like you don't have to be Connor McDavid and be the first overall pick in the NHL draft. Like you just got to get to the NHL, or you just got to get to NCAA hockey, or you just got to get to junior hockey. Like set your goal and go achieve it.
Like I said, I wasn't always on the Tier 1 team. Sawchuk was actually coaching the Tier 1 team Squirts, I believe.
The catcher?
Yeah. And I ended up being the Tier 2 team that year. And ended up working out somehow.
yeah.
I got Lisa Lady too, and she played Division I hockey. The best move when she went to play girls, so.
I played JV at West Valley.
West Ray Balsam.
It was 100%.
There's something to be said to learning to be the guy too. Like there is something to be said of that. Like, just being a role player your entire life doesn't develop you. Like, learning what it takes to have the puck on your stick and the team depending on you to be the guy, like, that's a very, very valuable skill as you go through, because if you want to get where you want to go, you're going to have to be that guy at some point.
Unless you have no hands, but you play in front of them in the corner as a defenseman.
Yeah, there's always that too.
I think that's all we have, unless there's other questions. It's been appreciate your guys' input and time. Hope that you guys have the opportunity someday to sit up here and be on the panel and share your story with the next generation of kids that are playing hockey. It's great sport. I think we all feel like it's a privilege to be here. We've learned many things about life. And it's a great thing because we're all still here, give it back because we love it.
Yeah, if you guys have questions ever, I'm around the rink all the time, so.
Thanks, Josh.
Thank you, guys. Have a great night.